Hello, everyone. The topic for the day is challenges to apply EQ at workplaces and the remedy thereof. So, let us understand what exactly has been EQ meant. So, the agenda will be we will have basically a definition of the emotional intelligence, the four quadrant of emotional intelligence that we go around it, how to perceive and probably name emotions in self and obviously in others. Because if you can understand the emotions of the others and accordingly react, that's that is all the crux of the emotional quotient is all about it. So managing emotions in self and relationship is very important. Why emotional intelligence is important at work? Definitely it requires to have a positive presence, positive image. Low emotional intelligence show up what how low emotional, basically we need to understand the situation where you are not at your best. Five ways to improve the emotional intelligence and skills for increasing the intelligence thereof. So this would be the crux of the presentation, approximately a little longish video this would be. So please bear with me and you watch how it unfolds all. So, what exactly is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence or emotional quotient, EQ or EI, as the term has been created by researcher Peter Salovey and John Mayer. It was popularized by Dan Goleman in his 1996 book with the same name. What is emotional intelligence? Basically, this is what has been defined as accordingly right out here. It is the ability to be aware of, name, manage the emotions thereby, the ability to be aware of the name and understands others emotions. See, manages one's emotions and manage others emotion, and then ability to relate to the others in an effective ways, both in professional capacity and in the personal capacity. So in practical terms, this means being aware of the emotion that can drive your behavior, my behaviors, everybody's behavior, that impacts people in two fashion, positive and negative, and learning how to manage these emotions. Both are on our own and others, especially when we are under pressure. So please be understand what is emotional intelligence. It is about one's emotion, it is about others emotion, it is about reading the emotions of the situation of the person and reacting according to it. Mind it, your reaction might have a behavior which can exhibit both positive and negative attributes, and that might emancipate the situation in either. So the capacities of emotional intelligence that we talk about it: self-regulation, regulation, self-reflection, and empathy. These are the three parameters that we speak around: self-reflection, self-regulation, empathy. These forms the foundation for all competencies, all skills. They provide the ability to adjust, maintain, and communicate to the people to help us to find us meaning in the relationship, to create a sense of balance in the emotional levels. This is what is the three capacities of emotional intelligence, both in terms of self reflection, in terms of self regulation, empathy, and so on and so forth. So, four areas. Did I say that I will be speaking about the four areas of emotional intelligence? Here we go. The self awareness is the first impact that goes around it. We need to understand what is meant by emotional intelligence. Thereby, the social awareness is what we are looking as far as the self society is concerned, as the environment, interaction with the environment that we are talking about it. This we is all the social awareness is all about it. Then comes the self management. It is your emotional control. It is how you being perceived about, what are you adaptable to, are you flexible at all or not, how is your goal orientation overall, your initiativeness and your attributes, be it positive, or pessimistic, or probably realistic. So this is what we are talking about: the self awareness, the social awareness, the self management. Remember, self awareness encapsulate the emotional awareness and the accurate self assessment. Both translate into your confidence level, as we call about it. Now if you can have that awareness and management in self, along with it the cocktail of the social awareness, you build up something called a potent mixture known as a relationship management. The four areas, the fourth quadrant of emotional intelligence is all about relationship, building relationships, having your emotions together. So that is what about inspirational leadership, influences, development in others, can change catalyst, and so on and so forth. This is what we are looking at it. The conflict management, the building bonds there. So, four areas of emotional intelligence. What do we go about it? Let us begin with self awareness. We are speaking about emotional self awareness, accurate assessment of us, and the self confidence thereby. So, how do I perceive, and probably how do I see ourselves, see me in the mirror altogether? So, what kind of emotion that's been percolates about it? This is what we are looking into it. Absolutely, yes. What are good emotions? What functions do we have? How do we get how do the emotions get informed? How to perceive and accurately name emotion? These are things that needs to be taken care of, and definitely is the self compassion and self validation that comes around it. So if you can answer these all questions, that is very important. That is what we are looking as the factor is all about it. Now you need to understand, you need to be aware of what you are made up of, what you are capable of, what is your confidence level that goes by it. Let us understand what good our emotions are all about it. So emotion communicates, probably influences others, please understand. And this communication is not only man to man, it is also between man to animal, animal to man, and so on and so forth. And it is primitive in, even in the primitive societies among the animal, facial expression counts. It communicates like words. What is important to us is to be communicated to others. What is our priority needs to be intimated to the other fellow. Emotion organizing and motivating the self, this is what we are looking at it. It is our behavior which is just a manifestation of our emotions. The urge to connect to specific emotion is often hardwired. It's often a knee-jerk reaction that our behavior kickstarts in. E- Emotions save times in getting us to act on important situation. We don't have to think everything through. Remember, strong emotion helps us overcome a lot of obstacles. Now, emotions can be self-validating. What is being meant by self-validating? Our emotion reactions to other people and to events can give us absolutely precise information about the situation. This is what we are looking into it. Emotions are nothing but signals or alarms that is happening in the environment. It can tell out that whether I am going happy or I'm going sad, the way we got to go around it. So please understand why emotion, and look at this particular slide that I've given it to you. A number of faces with a number of emotion which is banned, right from ecstatics to hopeless to angry to mischievous as disgusted. You can have a something as smug, being jealous, being shocked or shy for that matter. A number of emotion that we go through it, and I am just trying to give nothing but approximately 60 emotions in this particular slide. Everything you have undergone, all of the viewers of this video have undergone ecstatic, confused state, been hysterical, been frustrated, been sad, happy, ashamed, enraged, bored, surprised, you name it, and we have it. We have felt lonely, we have felt hopeful. As to the six universal emotion that, and various expressions of emotion, the degree that varies in between people, barriers to understand those emotion in others. There are, see, I might be very angry, but probably I might not be displaying it. Now some of you can be actually figuring out that fact that I am desperately very angry. Some of you can read the simple facial statement or facial expression saying that okay fine, the person is as normal as one can be. Probably the undercurrent of anger has not been felt altogether. So person who have actually perceived me to be an angry at this point of time, this is for an just for an example that comes in your mind, will be a good emotional, having a high emotional quotient out there. So that is what is barriers in perception, in understanding, in reading the signals that comes around it. So taking interest and validating on the other's viewpoint, concerns, and being non-judgmental at all. People get judgmental for no sake, for no reason. Absolutely, it doesn't makes them, doesn't hampers them in any fashion. Still they get highly irked by certain emotions altogether. So this is what is to be understood by social awareness. Now, what are the basic six universal expression? I said about happiness has been one, sadness in another one. The third would be fear. So we can be happy, we can be sad, we are afraid of something, fearful of something. Then comes people who, with the other bottom three would be the disgusting. We are at times disgusted with the situation, with a person, with an object, with we are angry also, we do get angry. And then the most common element which doesn't figure more often than not as we grow older, this expression misses out, is of surprise. You don't get generally surprised when you grow, as you grow over your age. So what are the six emotions? Happiness, sadness, fear, disgust, anger, and surprise. So, perceiving and naming emotion in others is to notice your intuitions and feeling. Notice the facial expression, the body language, the tone of the words, and effective listening. This is how you will perceive and probably figure what is the emotional state of affairs of the other person, about about the intentions and the feeling. You should always trust it, your gut feeling, the facial expression that goes around the body language we are talking about, the tone of the voice, the effective listening that we go around. Now, validate viewpoints and concern. How do they go about it? It is acknowledge their uniqueness, experience the feeling that comes around it. This is what we are looking at. So, let us understand the barriers to perceive emotion. What are the barriers? Number one is the self references. This is one of the major barriers goes around it. You cannot validate everything with one pivotal point, the pivotal point being you yourself, right? So that is not the right method of viewing things. Self absorbed in your own thought, people are getting self obsessed, self centered, god knows for what reason. In fact, people have this affinity of thinking that the whole of the planet system, including the sun, revolves around them. So that is sheer atrocious. Now, talking about lack of empathy and compassion, interest, definitely yes, people might not be very interested. People might not be very passionate of all scheme of things that the society has to offer. Devalues emotions in self or others. Probably probably this is what we are looking into it. So barriers is something which we need to understand time and again. Ashamed or uncomfortable with emotion, that is how to go about it, and do not know how to respond. This is most important as to what is expected. Now this is what we are looking at it. We need to understand these are the essential ingredients of in perceiving the right emotion in others. So let us come to the four emotional quadrangle again, the quadrant again. Now this time, apart from self-awareness, social awareness, it is all about self-management. This is how you are going to manage yourself so that you come up with the right exhibitions of behavior. We are talking about emotional self-control, transparency, adaptability, achievement orientation, initiative, and optimism. We talk about self-management that is being done out there. So how do I regulate distressing emotion? Emotion dysregulation basically means skills to regulate emotion. Being in the present moment is what we are talking about. It wise mind is all about in making decisions and taking action. Radical acceptance is what we are looking out here in terms of adaptability, flexibility, and openness to change. This is what we are again saying. So self management is what we are looking into it, as far as regulating your distressing emotion, regulating, or should I say exhibiting the proper behavior despite whatever your emotional state of affairs might be all about. So, goes to emotion regulating training. How do you go about it? Understand, probably first and foremost thing, emotion that you experience is. If you're sad, understand it. Identify your emotion. Understand what works, what emotions works for you. Reduce emotional vulnerability. This is one thing that you need to work upon it. It is your negative vulnerability. If you can exhibit less and less of it, increase your positive emotions, as in your vibrance is there in your professional world. This is of a very utmost importance. Decrease emotional suffering, yes. Let go of the painful emotion through mindfulness. This is what we are talking about. Change the painful emotions through opposite action. This is what we are looking time and again. This is what is the goals of emotions regulation training is all about. It letting emotion suffering go, let it go out of mindfulness of emotional current emotion. Note it present, step back, get unstuck from the emotions altogether. You need to understand where you are, what exactly you are going through. Experience their emotion as a wave. It might be coming, it might be going. Try not to block them. Try not to suppress them. Not to get rid of them. Whatever you go, please go through the emotion. That keeps a sense of balance in your mental well-being, in your emotional well-being. Don't push it away. Do not try to keep emotions around. Obviously, if things have moved around, and time is the best healer to any sort of emotion, be it of a happy emotion, be it of a sad emotion, and so on. Don't hold on to it, and never ever amplify it. That is what your emotional experience should be. Remember, you are not your emotions. You are just not. Emotions are a part of you. That's what is it. So do not necessarily act on emotion. Remember the times you have felt different. Practice loving your emotion. Definitely do not judge your emotion. Whatever it comes about, you might be frustrated, you might be anticipated, you might be excited. Go through it. Go through those emotions as and when you experience it. Do not judge your emotion at all. Practice willingness. Radically accept your emotion as the goes by. Remember the state of mind. There are only three minds that comes around: a reasonable mind and an emotional mind. The emotional mind might be perplexing to you, so it's the balance between the reasonable and emotional mind is what is the wise mind, is the most important thing that comes around it. This is what you need to go about. This is what you need to build upon it. That is what I am trying to tell it to you. Have a wise. Let us come to the fourth quadrant. That is all about relationship management. Now, you have self awareness, social awareness, self management, or regulation that goes around it. Now, can we have this potpourri of them to build a strong emotional relation among it? So, we are talking about having a inspirational leadership, having influencing others, developing others, changing catalyst, conflict management, and building bonds. So ability to use your awareness of your own emotions together. This is what we are looking out here. So how do you manage relationship with skills and effectiveness? Effective listening. People don't listen at all. Please begin listening to what has been done or been happening in and around you. Have that assertive skills. Validate both your viewpoint and others viewpoint. Influence others with persuasion. Be aware of the common goals that has been there in your mind, and with a respect and courtesy, compassion, kindness, professionalism that needs to be built. So, goals and priorities again is something similar to exercise that we can go about with an interpersonal situation. Having an event, studying an event for the problem, what exactly led to that event happening? What was your position as far as your requirement goes? Depending upon it, what are you valuing? Is it the objective that you value? Is it the relationship that you value? Or it is you yourself value about your what is about your self respect? Accordingly prioritize your objectives, your relationship, and your self-respect, which comes into it as in the conflict is concerned. Which is the conflicting in the priorities? Is it a relation coming in between your self-respect? Is self-respect more important than the objectives of the conflict altogether? So guidelines to have a self-respect, let me be very clearly state to you: be fair, be apologetic, be stick to the values, and be truthful. That is what I am looking at it as far as the guidelines is all about here. Always be fair to yourself, if possible to others also. Apologize, but never overly apologetic behavior. Never be very much apologetic in the sense being pleasing around. People will take you for granted. Remember, stick to your own values. Do not sell your values or integrity for reasons that aren't very important. Be clear in what you values in. So stick to your own values again and again. Truthful, do not lie, act helpless when you are not, and never exaggerate. Absolutely never exaggerate. Be upfront, be factual. Do not come with an excuse is there. Having a wonderful relationship, how do you go about it? So be gentle. Again, did I say be gentle around here? Yes. Be gentle, be interested, be validate, and be easy manners. That is what we're looking about it. Always be courteous in your approach, in your speech. Never, no attacks, no threats, no judging. This is what gets or destroys the relations altogether. Be interested, listen, and in the other's thing, validate or acknowledge the other person's feelings, the wants, the difficulties, opinion about the situation. Be non-judgmental. That is what we are looking at. Use a little bit of a humor, smile, be easy with the person to go along with, be light-hearted, be middle, use soft sell and hard approach. Talking about relationship interactions, keep common goal. That is what will match, will click as far as relationship is concerned. The possible outcomes, no, definitely no. There are three possible outcomes comes around it. One is no. Absolutely, you should be able to say no. You should always be able to be. It is very easy to say yes and very difficult to say no altogether at times. Then we is something it which is a maybe concern, the hybrid concern that comes around it. Or let's say you are 50% yes and 50% no. So accordingly you will carry it out. The three possible outcomes for your relationship. Avoid clinging on to the outcomes when interacting with others. Multiple rights, multiple wrongs in the university. That is what is very true. The outcome could be no radical acceptance, interact with a wise mind, value others' viewpoint. They have a right to it. Value your viewpoint, have you have a right to it. I statement only, you can only know yourself. That is what we are talking around it. This is what is exactly told around. So why is emotional intelligence important at work? Help manage stress, enhances cooperation and teamwork. That is what we were talking about it. High performances and potential for problems. This is what we are entailing into it. Why is emotional so important at work? Because it has the potential for promotion. It has a potential to read people's mind. It has a potential to perform in a higher echelon. It guarantees job success, probably inspires others also, and most importantly it creates a healthy work environment, maintains a high job retention. That is what we are looking at it. So what is important? Managing stress, managing promotions, performances, jobs, inspiring others, having a healthy work environment. And that is what we are looking at it. What portion of a decision you make are emotional versus what portion of the decision you make are rational. So this is very pertinent question that needs to be there. Are you an emotional being or a very a logical rational being that comes around it? We decide that 100% of everything emotional, then spending hours, weeks, months, that is just justifying them logically, whereas 64 67%, that is approximately two-thirds of all competency deemed essential for high performances, are related to emotional intelligences. People might have thought the other way around, as in rational being the most important thing. But remember, emotional intelligence matter twice as much as one's technical knowledge as far as high performance is concerned. You remember EQ has to be above, over and above the IQ. Yes, technical know is a requirement, but if you are emotionally able, I'm sure about it, success will be at your any sooner. Absolutely. So, past emotional style, what do we bring to the work? This is very important that comes around it. We bring, like parents, in terms of a mother and a father, we are all recipient of various parenting management style. Developing emotional response to this style forms a foundation of emotional development, wherein we are protective about our wards, where we nurture them. So these are the emotional styles that we bring into the work. At times, what do we have? We behave like significant caregiver or a teachers as we go around it. They shape the experiences. We are exposing of our colleagues, our workmates, our team members into certain experiences or certain exposures as to working with our vendors, working with a different situation, emerging situation, identifying, or should I say identity development in childhood. Last but not the least is where we behave like our peers or adults, as the case might be, in interacting with childhood peers, help us emotionally way to stabilize our opinion altogether. So there are low emotional intelligence and there are high emotional intelligence. What are we looking into it? The low emotional intelligence are aggressive, demanding, egoistical, bossy, and confrontational. Believe me or not. Where are a high emotional intelligence would be assertive, ambitious, driving, strong-willed, and decisive. This is what we are looking into it. Low emotional intelligence would be easily grabbed. will be under a glib, selfish, poor listener, impulsive, just self-obsessed altogether. On the other hand, the high emotional intelligence would be warm, enthusiastic, sociable, and charming, persuasive, as we want to go around it. Similarly, for the low emotional intelligence in respect to resistance to change, passive, unresponsive, slow, stubborn. So if you look into it, every negative attributes is a part of emotional intelligence quotients, which I'm trying to tell it to you. So if you are being high emotional, you would be patient, you would be stable, you would be predicting, probably consistently good listener, and that is what we are looking into it. So talking about being critical, picky, fussy, and hard to please, perfectionist is signifying low emotional intelligence, whereas being detailed, careful, meticulous, and systematic, neat would be determining high. uh, how does low emotional intelligence show works around it? We are basically putting the blame on the other fellow. We always have this statement, if only he or she would have done this or that, complaining that everybody or someone would have been addressing this particular situation in a much better fashion. Probably we are more into gossiping, character assaulting, office politics, drama, jealousy of others, inability to hear critical feedback about yourself altogether. That means you have got a very low threshold as far as the emotions is concerned. Diverse opinions are not welcomed at all, are not valued. You are passive, you are aggressive, you are passive aggressive in your communication, lack of gratitude, and managers do not listen and become out of with those who speak around it. Some of the examples that have been given about your passive aggressive, since I presume most of you would be putting up a question. So non-communication, when there is clearly a problem to discuss, you do not speak, you stay mum. So avoiding or ignoring when you should be angry, when you feel you cannot speak calmly, it's something which is passive aggressive is all about it. Evading problems and issues, burying an anger head in the sand is something which we are also pertinent with. Procrastinating, intentionally putting off important tasks for less important one, obstructing, deliberately stalling and preventing an event or process of change, fear of competition, avoiding situation where one party will be seen as better off than others. So we are basically telling it to you so many examples that comes about it. Let's say sulking, being silent, morseful, sullen, resentful in order to get attention, probably, or sympathy also. Let's say chronic lateness, a way to put you in control over others and their expectation. Chronic forgetting shows a balance, disrespect, and disregard for others to punish in some way. We talk about fear of intimacy. Often there can be a trust issue with passive aggressive people, and guarding against becoming too intimately involved or attached will be a way for them to be in feeling in control. You need to understand everything then and there. Making excuses, always coming up with the reason for not doing things, victimizing, unable to look at their own part in a situation, will turn the tables to become a victim and behave like one, self pity, and so on. So emotional intelligence, we have these four quadrants that comes around it, as far as your attitude is concerned, as far as your values are concerned, as far as your skills are concerned, and your knowledge is concerned. You need to make note of it. So you need to improve on your self-awareness, self-regulation, improve on your motivation, ability to show empathy, and improve your social skill. These are the 5 ways. Remember the 5 ways to improve your emotional intelligence at work. What? Having an improvement in your self awareness, self regulation, motivation, ability to show empathy towards others, and improve social skill. So let us dissect one by one as to what can be done about self awareness. Remember, self awareness is to ability to understand, interpret your own very own moods, your very own emotion, your drives, and how this impacts the other fellow. So basically, first and foremost thing is practicing not practice noticing how you feel throughout the day. Are you resentful? Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you morose? Do you want to communicate? Do you want to resent the company of others? Recognize that emotion of fleeting. Remember, emotion comes and go. It is like your waves that comes in and comes waves through. Avoid allowing emotions on the basis of communication. Remember, emotions never should be the basis of any communication, rather whether you are very angry or whether you're very sad. So do not do it until and unless you are completely sure that you are feeling normal. Consider how negative emotion may impact your boss, consider the ways of managing your emotion on the job, so that you don't have absolutely no knee jerk, no surprise reactions altogether, and take an honest look at your own strengths and weaknesses. So what do? We do all or nothing. We do overgeneralizing. We have a mental filter that comes around it. We disqualify the positives. We negate them. We have modifications. We have catastrophical minimization, or let's say we jump into conclusions time and again. So this is what we are looking at as far as emotional intelligence is concerned. We look which should be done, which should not be done, what are the labels that is required. This is what has been done as such. This is what we are looking at it. This is how it has been defined to us as in the factor plays in. Let us talk about the self-regulation. Remember, holding on to an anger is like drinking a poison. It is impacting your own bodily physical harm, mental health altogether. Self regulation is all about ability to control and redirect impulsive actions and emotion. Please understand this thing in a positive fashion. Remember, the actions to improve self regulation is practice waiting before responding, making decision when situation is emotional. Stay involved in office drama, conflict, gossip, politics that can undermine your professional behaviors and integrity. Accept uncertainty, accept the fact that life is unpredictable, accept there would be hiccups in our life, accept frustration, disappointment, replace complaining with brainstorming situation, as in what best can you do to come out of the situation, find ways to release and regulate emotion. So improve your motivation? Yes, definitely. The third part, remember, motivation is what gets you through the life, through the work environment, earns you a position, earns you a status, income, your energy, fulfillment, or your work, your love challenges are highly productive. So identify what you love about your job, how your job brings fulfillment. Focus attention on what you like rather than what you don't like. Practice optimism, gratitude in general by changing your thoughts and words, even when you take it or fake it. Remember, you have to fake it until and unless you make it. Remain ingrained, remain on your ground, stand your ground firmly, be determined, and you will see things are getting in place slowly and steadily. Be motivated, come what may. So improve our ability to show empathy. This is what I have given the sworn enemies in the pics, talking or probably communicating with one another. It's the way to show empathy towards other. Is to the empathy is nothing but to ability to understand, probably respect the emotion of others. Remember, people with empathies are treating people with courtesies, care, respect, kindness, and professionalism. They understand the requirement of needs, viewpoint, feelings around them, and the background that they ascribe to. So action to improve is see the situation from the other's point of view. This is very important. If you can do around it, recognize that we all have some limitations in terms of our experiences, in terms of our knowledge. We have to validate the person's point of view and let them see what you mean, and you also should be open to the idea of viewing the situation from their own eyes. So examine your motives and do what you think is right. Be proactive in active listening, reflect back, and treat the way you want it to be treating. So this is what we are looking into as improving your social skills. The last point that comes around here is having a wonderful social skill in your workplace means you are proficient in managing relationship, in building network. This is pertinent, how persuasive you are, how effective you are at the initiative skills. So what do you go about it to improve your social skill? The best way to improve social skill is to have a wonderful communication skill. The best way to have a wonderful communication skill is to be practice active listening. Active listening is what will make you go through, understand the person you are talking to, tailor the interaction with them as if there is no one size fit all. Remember, effective active listening, what I've been trying to tell it to you about openness without being thinking what do you say, speak to them, avoid talking with everyone else about an issue, make the person feel yes, he's been or she's been heard for. Give attention, make sure that you know what you say. So my last parting thoughts will be always start small and then expand. Be open, be curious, and always experiment, ready to experiment, always ready to accept defeat, accept frustration, unlearn your old emotional pattern. Definitely practice and learn the new one. When you fail, practice self confession, compassion, learn and move on. That is what we look into it. Cultivate awareness, cultivate observation, cultivate noticing. Be on your toes at all point of time, and practice being in the present moment. Never be having a lot kind of expectations. We should always make sure that this happens again and again. Practice loving, practice be kindness, be compassionate, and gratitude. With this, I come to an end of this presentation. Thank you for watching this video.